All right, my dears, Daniela here, and welcome to the Spa Marketing Made Easy podcast. This is the Spa Social Beats Friday episode, and I am here with Danielle. We are talking about leveraging your Instagram highlights. So, highlights are where you keep your stories on your feed. It is very coveted real estate space in your Instagram profile. So, Danielle, do you want to talk about best practices, I guess, for highlights, or how to best utilize these highlights to make sure, again, that our whole big picture thing that you are getting ROI with your social media, that you're taking full advantage of what these platforms are offering?
Yeah, definitely. So first of all, if you're not familiar with what a highlight is, it's the kind of curated collections of your story content. So anytime you're posting Instagram stories, we know it goes away after 24 hours, which can kind of feel like a waste if you're like, I'm creating stuff and then it just disappears. Well, it's really nice because you can capture all of that content and put it into a highlight. So if you're sharing really great story content, make sure that you're putting it into a highlight so that it can be reviewed and repurposed later. So that would be why you want to use highlights in general. But also it is pretty front and center on your profile. So highlights are going to be right under your bio and right before your feed starts. And that's some pretty prime real estate. And it's a really great place to give your profile viewer, so someone who maybe stumbles upon your content, like a post or a story shows up in their feed or a reel, something that you're posting elsewhere, and then they decide to come over to your profile. It gives them a really good snapshot of what your business is about when they have those highlights available to look at. So I can kind of get into some best tips.
Yeah, what do you think for a spa owner? What do they need? Is it before and afters? Is it about me? Like, what kind of highlights would be reserved for that front and center space?
Yeah. So I always like having at least 5, because 5 is the number of circles and highlights that are going to show up in your feed. So you want to have a minimum
on mobile.
On mobile. So you want to, and that's where most people are viewing Instagram, is you want people to not have you don't want to have just 2 highlights and then there's all this blank space with nothing there. So try to come up with 5 different topics. And I would say 5 easy foundational ones that you should always have are an about me type of highlight. If it's you as a solo, where it's just you introducing yourself, sharing a little bit about yourself, telling people to book with you. And then that's that. And anytime you're adding story content that's maybe a glimpse into your personal life or sharing more of your personality, you can continue to add to that highlight over time. But an about me, I think having a virtual tour of your spa is really nice, because then it's giving people just a really upfront view of oh, okay, this is what it's like when I come in here. This is what the reception area looks like. This is what it looks like from the outside. It's just, you're kind of eliminating any of those barriers that may make someone feel are hindering them wanting to come further, because they're like, I just don't know what to expect. Don't give that as a reason for why someone won't come in, because they just don't know what to expect. Give it all to them. I like spa policies being in there as well. So things like cancellation policies or things like that, that may not be the one I would create first. But I think if you're someone who's using Instagram content regularly, you will have people DMing you, asking you, how do I book online? Or what's your policy on XYZ? Just put all those FAQs related to info about your spa and put them all in one place. That way, if someone's kind of wondering what is her policy on late or no show or rescheduling, it's all right there. And you can easily point someone there as well. If someone's asking you that question in your DM, you can quickly answer them and say, oh, and if you go to this highlight, there's more information there as well. It's a good reference point. Before and afters, always nice to have. I think you can even expand upon that by having a highlight for each service category that you offer.
Peels, before and after, microneedling, light and laser, just breaking it up into into those different.
It's going to give you even more content to be able to share with people. And then you can also put some other stories in there as well. So if you're doing more of those behind the scenes or in treatment or in action type of stories, you can put those into those treatment category highlights as well. And by the time you do all that, you've definitely got 5.
So what else about stories? I know one thing that was kind of a hot topic over the past year is people are like, how do I make my covers beautiful? Right. Mm-hmm. So now, I mean, what we did was we just purchased some on Etsy, but there's now, I think in Canva, you can create them. They have that. But what do you recommend for the actual highlight covers?
Yeah. So in Canva, you can just search Instagram highlights, and they have full template packs with various icons and color schemas, like beautifully branded type of things. Of course, you'll want to make sure they're in your brand colors and that they kind of match your look and feel of your branding. But having something that's cohesive in terms of colors or icons, or even just something as simple as just a blank, like one of your colors from your color palette, and just making it blank with no icon works as well. Or this takes a little bit more work, but it can look really nice, as if you do want to take the time of like taking a nice picture and as part of your story sequence that you're sharing, and then you're sharing an actual part of your story in the highlight cover. My only issue with that is, like, I mean, I never look good in a freeze frame. So I'm never going to use a picture of myself as a highlight cover.
The worst. Every video I'm always like,
yeah, no. You will never see a picture of me as my highlight cover, because generally I just don't love pictures of myself. So that's my way of keeping it really nice and beautifully branded. But I've seen other people who like to take like nice pictures, put them in their stories, and then use that as their highlight cover. And that can look really nice as well.
Cool. So that is what are their action steps? Let's give some action steps for highlights. Number 1, have at least 5.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Map out your 5 topics.
Map out the 5 topics. Number 2, get highlight covers.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, how frequently should they be adding to their highlights?
Yeah, and that's a great question. It can definitely become a little bit of an afterthought because you're trying to kind of keep up with story content, right? So I like having that baked into my overall social media system, where it's maybe a bi-weekly part of the social media system, or even just a monthly thing where you're going back and going, okay, let me go back through all my archive stories of the month and categorize them into their appropriate highlights. You could do this on a weekly basis too. It's really just whatever your bandwidth is, or the way you have your social media system set up. I know in Post with Purpose, we talk about sitting down for just a couple hours once a month to batch out like the entire month's worth of content. So for me, I like doing things on a monthly basis, but you could also be having a VA do that work for you as well. So.
Very good. Well, if you want to learn more about social media, having a system for social media so that you can just spend a couple of hours a month working on that, so that you can spend your time with your clients, you can spend your time ticking through that to-do list, then we want to invite you to join Post with Purpose. We've got a 7-day for $7 trial. It's our complete social media for spa system. Incredible program, and we would love to see you in there. So click the link below to get signed up today.